What's going on, people? This is the review show. I'm back. I'm sorry, people. I'm just drained. How's everyone going on? I hope everyone's well. Yes, we lost again. This time to Manchester United 2-0. Lost to words, but it is what it is. People, get your comments in. If you want to talk about today's game, please do. I'll try and get everyone's comment because I'm not in the mood to talk today. I've got the panel here, the most talkative panel here, so they are here today. If you want to talk about the game, people, get in the comments. Please hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and yeah, wait, Glenn, go on. There's Glenn. But yeah, first of all, let's introduce. We'll start with the man himself. Well, I'm gonna get Dave at the moment. How you doing, Dave?
I've got the Manchester United defeat blues, so I'm taking blueberries, Ben. I'm Dave Blueberry, not Dave Asprey tonight, mate.
People comments. Did you see Dave on Sky Sports today? Did you see? If you did, people, put your thumbs up. Did you see Dave on TV? It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing.
Four-eyed grey git in Trent End, 74th minute. Check it, folks.
Next up, we've got Glenn. How you doing, Glenn? Glenn?
Yeah, not bad.
Not
been. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you well,
Yeah.
Glenn. I can hear you well, Glenn.
Yeah, I'm well. I'm well. I'm looking forward to this hour. It's always a pleasure spending the time with you for free.
Good.
No, not great.
Not great. Last but not least, we've got a special one, Lisa Foxy. How are you doing, Foxy?
I'm well, Ben. I'm looking at these three lovely gentlemen in front of me, and I know how much positivity all three of you are going to come out with tonight. So I'm looking forward to this.
No pressure.
No pressure, people. Like I said, people, we lost 2-0. Get your comments in. Before we do start, I'm going to go to everyone's comment. Lewis says, as a neutral, I thought Forest real chance of beating Man U, especially the weekend lineup. So quite disappointed that there wasn't more than a competitive game. This one, Derek. No shots on target again. The midfield two underperformed. A striker who doesn't seem to have a clue what his job is. Overall, pretty woeful performance. Even with relegation, we need Cooper. Kieran says, in everyone, never give up, not over. Charlie said, to be fair, Ben, most teams have too strong for us. Good point. Evening says, good evening, Dor, Lisa, Glenn. Dave, hope you're well. I'm gutted we lost today, but I believe we survived relegation. I hope, at least Eve has. People in comments, has anyone got any belief that we could stay up? Not relegated, but that little hope. Callum said, was over a week ago, simple not good enough. Players should be ashamed with the lack of fight. Rasta said, even though, is it over just yet? There's some belief. So there's some little positivity. Says, good evening, not all over yet until Fat Lady sings. We can still do it. We've working said that we can still got a good chance. And then the Reds. Paul says, nice to see you, Mr. Dore. Forest, I've got to be positive with me. Keep the faith. I keep going on. There's more comments over here. And last one is Paul. Even though another disappointing afternoon, we'll sort this midfield out issue as smartest. Right, who should start with? We'll start with you, Foxy. Sorry, Foxy. What's your view on today's game?
Ultimately, games are won and lost by goals, and our creativity was very poor. But you also, ultimately, their midfield three, Eriksen, Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes, are just phenomenal. And some of the passes of play that they had are just too good for us. And we've seen over the course of probably the last 4 or 5 months that playing with a 2 in that middle does not work. And I got frustrated with Morgan Gibbs-White today because he was not involved. But at one point he was playing kind of a defensive role, and you've got Danilo who's in front of him. And ultimately, we need Gibbs-White firing on all cylinders to actually be that link up in the middle. Because without him and getting that ball to Brennan, we are going to have 0 shots on target. It's I've said it's all right relying on Tayo coming back, and we know that he was starting to really make a difference when just before he got injured. And we can't expect him to come back and be that player. It took him a long time to actually get to grips with our system and the way that we played. And for him to come back, and it was his first start today, expecting that we were going to get the ball up to him and do what we expect of him was unrealistic. That said, Harry Maguire was on a yellow card after 3 minutes, and we did not take advantage of that in any way, shape or form. We should have just put him because, handball aside, which I know you'll speak about later, you know, he is a liability and seemed more interested in playing with his hair. And actually, after, you know, for him being on a yellow card after 3 minutes, he shouldn't have seen 90 minutes. And again, it could well have been a different game.
Next up, Glenn. You watched it from the TV view. Any positive from today, Glenn?
Yeah, I'm gonna echo a lot of what Foxy said. In addition to that, I think Loddy back and fit gave us a different element going forward and defensively. I think Nikate, who's wow, he takes this long to recover from a hamstring injury, and then in a matter of 2 days, I know you've probably heard the Cooper post match. The scan wasn't as bad as they first feared. So him coming back adds an extra element. And obviously he, with his throw-ins, made a big impact at certain set pieces today. No doubt we'll talk about set pieces. I thought the set piece element was a big strength again today. But I've got to agree with what Foxy said. I think the shortcomings, particularly through midfield, Freuler just wasn't in the game. I don't think it helped the fact that they put their wing backs through midfield as well, which overloaded our midfield to the point where we just couldn't put anything through to anywhere, which it just sort of blockage, wasn't it? Which ended up playing around. I know a couple of other pundits and Forest related channels have bigged up Williams for his impact. I think he was bright. I think there were a few issues defensively. Again, I don't think that knee that he's still got strapped is particularly helping him. Heavy strapping on that left leg again from Villa. But no, I think we got what we deserved. I think the first half was promising. Going in after 1-0, you know, who knows what's going to happen the second half. I think they would be more concerned about them only scoring one of their potential chances in the first half. But the second half, we just weren't at the races, were we? After that good 5-10 minutes of pressure, 75 minutes on, it was game over. Just the one positive thing from that, it wasn't, you know, minus 32 or 33 or 34. We only got 32 goal difference minus at the moment. I think that was the only positive, that we kept it down to 2 in the second half, particularly that final quarter. So no, not that much to sing about, is it?
I know Dave is eating people. So, Dave, are you okay to talk? Are you still eating?
I've only got 2 grapes left, but I think I'll manage. Don't worry. Forgive me. I was starving when I got back, because I've only just got back from sick ground. But what my 2 extremely esteemed colleagues have said, I kind of go along with. I mean, the truth of the matter is, as Foxy said, she picked out the 3 crucial names: Fernandes, Eriksen. I mean, for a guy who was dead, what a footballer he is! What a story! If you love football, doesn't matter who you support, Christian Eriksen, I think is fantastic. Right, it's an honour to watch him play. Casemiro, in his own gentle, I've won however many Champions Leagues way, he strolls around and plays his football. And the truth of the matter is that we could be here for the next 20 or 30 years, and they are better than our lads. I mean, we don't create. I thought our defence played okay generally. I mean, Felipe has been as solid as a rock in these past few, you know, even in this bad run. Felipe has stood out. Kayla Navas made some good saves. Moose, I think, is getting there. Renan, I think the back 5 or back 6 or whatever it was. I mean, I thought Nico had a decent game, but it's further forward that our problems begin, because, you know, these lads at the back are all fighting fires because we're not giving them any relief with what we do further forward. You know, Morgan, who I love and who I think the Forest fans love across the board, didn't do enough today. The little flicks and tricks and turns didn't come off today, and he was pretty ineffective. And we just don't have enough control in midfield. We can't use our primary weapon, i.e. the fastest human being in the Premier League, because we don't ever have enough control. I think we're the worst team in possession in this league by a considerable margin. Even Southampton have James Ward-Prowse, Leicester have Maddison, Everton have Iwobi. These teams who are struggling like us have somebody that they can turn to, but we don't really. I think our biggest loss, and I'm sure I'll get pelters for it, is Brian Yates, because he's a presence.
I was about to say that, Dave. I was about to say,
Ryan is Mr. Nottingham, Lincoln. He's one of us. He feels what we feel in the stands. We need him out there. I think, Danilo I like. I think Danilo's raw and he's getting better. Mangala does some neat stuff, but they're not in the class of the three that we've talked about. And then going forward, we've got no incisive edge whatsoever. And so we're always going to be up against it because we don't create enough trouble at that end to relieve the lads at the back. So, it's not looking great, is it? That's the honest truth of it. But, I'm sure there's a Twitter storm or whatever out there. I'm ignoring it because I've got better things to do.
I've been on Twitter twice to post what I thought.
And everybody is entitled to an opinion, whether it's a positive one or a negative one. The only positive I would come up with, I'd say Kayla Navas did well. Felipe's a good lad. Nico had a decent game. But I bet you Everton are feeling the same way we are. And I bet Leicester City are feeling the same way we are. And I bet Southampton are. And just imagine if Liverpool go to Ellen Road tomorrow night and smite them. Then how are Leeds United going to feel? So, really, the way I look at it is that given that we had the shortest amount of preparation time from May the 29th of the Premier League, we had to completely rebuild a squad. We've had untold injuries. We've got a rookie manager in the hardest league in the world who's doing his absolute best. And I'm not buying this business that he's clueless and he's not having it. He's not good enough and all. I don't buy that because I'm not turning on my manager while he's having a bad time. So we've got to turn on him. I'm not doing that. So the job was monumental to start with. And in all seriousness, I thought, certainly after we lost at Leicester on October the 3rd, that by this time of the season, we would be cut adrift and we would be the Norwich City of this season. We're not. What are Leicester City and Southampton doing below supposedly championship standard Nottingham Forest? You know what I mean? Everton, what are Everton doing just above us? They should be way above us. So it's not all doom and gloom, but I have to say at the moment, I just feel that at this level, in this league, and it's an exalted level, we're not quite good enough, and that might just find us out.
100%. Before I do get to Lisa, I got a super chat from Kieran. I love Dave Blueberries more than Dave Asprey.
Do you know what? I'm so vexed at the moment. In the words of the immortal Stu Francis, I could crush a grape.
Is that the first time you've ever heard that, Dora? Are you familiar with that?
I haven't got a clue what Dave just said, but yeah.
Not many people have.
Kieran, thank you for the £1.99. Lisa, we're relying on way too much on Morgan Webster and Johnson, aren't we?
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah, massively. And I mean, Brennan his game has got better and better as the season has gone on. He has, I spoke on another podcast earlier in the season about Brennan and the fact that he was a 21-year-old who was learning his trade. 2 seasons ago under Houghton, he wasn't good enough for the Championship. Now he's actually he's learning and he's our top scorer. And there aren't that many that are, apart from, when you're looking at the top 4 and 5, there aren't that many that are in the bottom half that have got as many goals and been in and around the play. And I think his game has improved so much since the start of the season. One of the first things he did today was to win a header. And at the beginning of the season, he wouldn't have even been challenging for them. He's tracking back. He's doing everything that is being asked of him. The only thing for me that was annoying from both of them today was when Man U had 3 or 4 corners and they did exactly the same thing every time. Yeah. And we didn't close anybody down on the edge of the box. And the two of them seemed to look to the manager to say, who do you want to mark him? Whereas it should have been a decision that I think seasoned professionals in the Premiership would have known exactly what they needed to do at that point. And we do, I think people forget that we have got a relatively young and relatively inexperienced squad that we will be building our team around, regardless of which league we're in next year. We're not down yet. We're still in the bottom 3 on goal difference. Yes, it is very difficult to see where our next goal is going to come from, which then makes it more difficult to see where our next points are coming from. And I am annoyed because I think United, to some degree, were there for the taking today. And I really would like to see us shit or bust and actually go out there and try and just get that first goal, because I think that ultimately, once you've got the one, it makes such a difference to us. And let's talk about the handball. That
yes, but that's the next question. That's the next thing I was want to talk about to Glenn as well. Glenn, I saw the handball. I've seen Steve Cooper's after the game. Or
he's going to be in trouble after that.
This is what I'm saying. Glenn, talk to me, man. The handball, VAR.
It is an offence if a player touches the ball with their hand or arm when it has made a body an unnaturally bigger. A player is considered to have been made their body naturally bigger if their position of their arm is not, and I'll carry on. The fact that the cross was coming in and he saw it, it's not like it sprung up at him. He was watching it for 6 seconds as the ball came over. His arm was out here. I found something out today. I don't know if you knew. Gary Neville, is it? Gary Neville commentating? I think he might be a Man U fan. What do you think? He was saying he's holding off an opponent. He's holding off Lindelof. Right, this. His arm's out here. He puts his head sideways, misses the ball, and it strikes him on the arm that hasn't moved for 10 seconds, and nothing's given. You might not have seen earlier on, West Ham conceded a penalty.
Yeah.
In a very similar position, right? But he wasn't holding his arm for that length of time in that one position. He knew exactly what he was trying to do. The fact that he was putting his head on it and missed, it hit him on the top of the arm. Now, the only thing, I've got an image, the only thing is the deltoid across the shoulder, that's not handball. It hit him on the middle of the arm here, upper arm. How they didn't at least review it more than once. It was just seen and then no penalty. Now, obviously, Twitter's kicked off about Varchester United and the effect of the top 4. And you could argue that a player in a lower league or a player in a lower team, you could assume would make those sorts of errors. But he's the captain of Manchester United. I can't see how they didn't at least look at it for that, even more than that one length of time. The fact that they just looked at that one image there and didn't see the passage of play before it, it's absolutely criminal for me. I can't see how they... Now, Cooper's obviously gone on, and I think he's absolutely right that it didn't have an impact on the result, and it didn't have an impact the way we've played in the first half leading up to that incident. But that's a massive, whether the penalty goes in or not, that's a massive issue that I know you've commented about this, Foxy. All it takes is the FA to say, sorry. I don't know how much that, in fact, it has no impact on the result, does it? No impact at all on what goes forward from here. The fact that they own up 24 hours later.
It's not the first time. It's the fourth time this season that we will have had an apology, because that it's coming. And it is, that it does define your season, that when you're down there and the breaks are against it, everything is against you. You just need them to be fair and just. And my comment on socials was that had that been at the other end of the pitch, that was 100% a penalty.
Dave, what was your opinion on
badge? No, it's Forest. Nah, not penalty.
Oh, Dave.
This absolute gem above me's just nicked the sentence out of my mouth. She's gone into my mouth, delved around, and pulled that sentence out because, So, but you know what? You know what? All joking aside, right? I used to kind of think it was a fallacy that it was a big six world and all this business. But you know what? Even despite my desperate desire to avoid cynicism, you kind of sit there in the Trent end and you watch these things unfold, and you kind of think, well, maybe it is a big six world. But then the other side of it, my view, is that Forest need to be better to put themselves in a position to almost get that. Do you know what I'm saying? It's almost like the more I practice, the luckier I get. And to be honest with this Harry Maguire handball business, where I'm sat at the Trent end, I'm proper Arsene Wenger now. I couldn't see it. I've only just seen it now as I got in, because we were sat. I'm sat quite low down in the Trent end, looking right at the far end. So the goal and is in my way. So I couldn't tell. So I couldn't make a comment at the time. But I've just seen it, and you kind of think, well, on another day that gets given, but it wouldn't have affected the result. The better team won. The team that is a level above ours won. And I just think that we're not yet ready to be able to compete on an equal footing with some of these bigger squads and bigger. Because what I feel is, my feeling is that the incredible rapid progress we've made and the meteoric rise from the bottom of the Championship and that awful start last season, has kind of caught up with us. I almost feel that when I look at Brentford on my reference point, Brentford had 2 or 3 or maybe 4 goes at the playoffs before they made it. So they built up a body of work to get themselves to the point where, right, we've done all our learning, we've paid all our dues, now we're ready to go up. And they were kind of more of a finished article. Forest, Fulham knew they were going up, so they could prepare. Bournemouth pretty early on knew they were going up. Now, even in April and early May of last year, we didn't know whether we were going up. Now, if Forest had gone and bought a load of players or whatever, said, right, we're Nottingham Forest and we're going up, we'd have been laughed off the face of the planet, and it would probably all come back to haunt us. So the way I look at it is that we won at Wembley, May the 29th, and then we've got basically the best part of 2 months to rebuild a new squad and get ready for the hardest league in the world. And anybody, any manager on earth, any club on earth was going to find that difficult. And I just felt sat there today, and people will probably say, no, they need to be good and this, that, and the other, and whatever, but then they're all entitled to their opinion. But I just sat there and felt to myself, you know what? Maybe we got here too quickly. Maybe we weren't ready, and whatever we did, we weren't going to be quite good enough to stay up, which is where I kind of thought, and I was probably, less optimistic. And I tried not to be delusional, because it's the hardest league in the world. Newly promoted sides are generally fodder for the established giants. And I kind of thought, we're going to struggle. And I kind of certainly, like I say, after Leicester, Arsenal away, West Ham away, I thought, we're not good enough to stay up. So I might be proved wrong yet. I hope I am. But I just think it's almost like Forest have had to sprint at top speed just to walk with the rest of them. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I feel. It's very difficult. I mean, and these people coming on, there are people out there at the moment, again, not me to say that they're wrong, they're entitled to it. People saying clueless, no fight, all this, that, and the other, and what have you. You can fight all you want, but in this league, it's class and quality which determine the standings. Do you know what I mean? You look at the 2 teams at the top. I mean, you look at the one that's probably going to win the league. I mean, they're just quality all the way through. And so they can, that's what it's those margins. I mean, I wouldn't say some of ours would go up to Keelan Navas and say into his face, you weren't fighting today. Go and tell Felipe he wasn't fighting. Go and tell Nico he wasn't fighting. Go and tell Moose, right? Yeah, people have bad games, but I don't buy this business that Forest are down in tools. If you're a Nottingham Forest fan on the field today and you've got 27,000 Forest people begging you, desperate for you to win, you're not going to say, oh, balls to them lot, I'm not trying. I don't buy that at all. People think that when you get beat, you haven't fought. You can fight and still get beat. A team can come out one week and play in a certain way with a certain mindset, and they can replicate that mindset and that effort the following week, and you get 2 wholly different results. And that's called life. It's called being a human being. I look at our lads on the field. They're not perfect human beings. They're going to do things that are not great. They're going to have to learn. and I try to be forgiving. You know, if one of our lads had done today something like Alexander Mitrovic did at Old Trafford 4 weeks ago, I'd have been fuming and I'd have been after him and I'd have wanted his guts for garters. But our lads didn't do any of that. You know what I mean? So it's just unfortunate that we're not good enough. We might be 17th on May the 28th at R6 when we walk out of Selhurst Park. So it's not done, but the omens don't look good. You know what I mean?
There's 154 people in. Thank you, everyone. That's taking part of watching this for. If you can, hit the like button if you can. I'm just going to go through the comments before I get Lisa again. There's Eric, who's a member of the channel. For certain, Peter Stan won't be started while we're in the championship. That's when we'll talk about later on.
Civil engineering question.
As well, people, David finished his food. This is why he's talking a lot. So he has finished his food just to confirm.
Trouble is, other people are a drug. When Foxy talks, I love listening to her. When Glenn talks, it just gets me going. Human beings are fantastic, aren't they? Love them.
This is why Dave's on the channel. This is Port Football. Bang on, Dave. We would have been taking this positive. Would not have said don't want to go up because we're not good enough. Well, Lisa, right? I've never disagreed with Dave. I've never. I don't know why. The question is, right? You know when we said, I think we had a discussion before the game with someone. You know when someone says we got promoted too early. Do you agree with it? People in the comments, like, do you agree with Dave? Did we get promoted up too early or not? Foxy, did we get promoted up too early?
We've been waiting 23 years to get promoted, haven't we? I mean, that's a funny conversation to have.
Yeah.
I understand what Dave means.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
you're right.
Dave knows I never disagree with Dave. But
do you know what, folks? Lass and lads. I might actually have to backtrack a bit here.
I don't think it's that we got promoted too soon.
Yeah.
I think it's that we weren't ready, but that's a very difficult one, simply because you can't recruit. You know, you've only got a certain transfer window that you're able to sign players, and we were very lucky in January last year that our signings got us over the line and were the quality that they were. But we then only had, like Dave said, 8 weeks. You know, it's always and it's not a myth that the team that actually gets promoted through the playoffs is always at a disadvantage because they have less time to prepare. Last year it was even less time than normal because of the World Cup. So did we get promoted too soon? No. Were we ready for promotion? Also no. So it's a very difficult one because I think there were targets that Coops had in terms, and the team that were doing the recruitment, I think they had players that they wanted to get in and potentially missed out on the first choices. I think they pushed so hard to get Morgan Gibbs-White over the line, and he is our mark signing, and he is the one that you kind of expect to be all singing, all dancing and doing everything else. He's a young lad. He's having his first season in the Premiership as well, and he's learning his trade. So you need players that are professional. There's got to be that blend. It's like your pizza. You've got to have your pizza base that's solid. You've got to have your tomato that's little bit of ham.
Lisa, I am hungry.
No pineapple, Foxy. No pineapple.
Well, for me, pineapple on my pizza has to happen. It's like the Ryan Yates. You love it or you hate it.
Ben, can I just come in? Sorry, can I?
Blend. There is such a blend, and I think we aren't that far away. And I think we had last season we had a spine of the players that were fighting, and everybody was together, and there was a togetherness from back to front to back last year, from the top to the bottom, and we were all on the same page. And that's what everybody invested in, and that's what everybody got behind when Coops walked through the door on the 21st of September. And you know, that's we've been riding on that crest of the wave. Coops is also learning his trade, and yes, he doesn't go without fault, because there have been decisions that have been made that possibly have cost us points along the way. We have been too defensive at times. But ultimately, anyone that thought we were going to be comfortable in this league wants the head testing, because 17th was always kind of the first target. 11 points was the first target, obviously. And then the second target was 17th place, because we are still building that squad. We are still finding our feet, and it's very, very tough. And it was always going to be tough. And when you look at our running, it's tough. But then, like you said already, so is Everton's, so is Leicester's. I mean, and when you look at how, you never know how the fixtures are going to pan out throughout the year, and how the league is going to pan out. And if you have said to me, well, we're going to need to go to Crystal Palace to stay up, and Everton have got to play.
Don't do that, Lisa. Don't do that, Crystal Palace.
That league, that bottom four could change places so many times over the course of that 2 hours, but it's still in our own hands. Until we're actually out of it, it is still in our own hands, and all we need to do is to have better results than 13. Not difficult, but when you look at I mean, for me, the interesting thing that Dave just said there was there's a team at the top of the league who have the players, and they are going to win the league. I want to know which team he meant, because there's two that have the players and have both been phenomenal to watch this season.
They have,
And I would love it to some degree if Arsenal came to the City Ground and we actually stopped them winning the league.
I would love that. Sorry, Arsenal fans. I know this is a few Arsenal fans watching, but I do agree with what Lisa said. I want to blow that.
And can I just come back on what?
I won't also be that bothered if Arsenal do win the league, but if us getting 3 points against them, it stops them winning the league and it keeps us up, I'm all for it.
Can I just come back on what she's just done, Foxy? Right, what she's just done. She's cut my original statement into two much more palatable chunks, right? So this idea of 23 years, we didn't get there. We didn't get there too quickly. Absolutely bang on, Foxy. But what I do agree with, I agree with both the points. So I stand corrected on one. The other one I agree with, it's about this readiness. And actually, I think that's what I was trying to say. Elisa was much more articulate in getting that idea over than I was. It's this readiness, and it was always going to be difficult. You know what I mean? And but we're still in the fight. You know what I mean?
The fact we gave everybody else a 7-game head start last season may have had something to do with that as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, the momentum that we built last year was just, you got, from Barnsley, Birmingham, Bristol City onwards, we were like barreled along with it, and it was like, wow, this is incredible. And then obviously Wembley was astonishing. You know what I mean? Absolutely astonishing. And then I always kind of felt like, these things that go up, they have to kind of plateau a bit. And I think that's kind of happened, but it's just the reality of what we're in now. So I tell you what, I love being in this league. I've found watching Championship football since we got promoted much more tasking than it had been before. So being in this league is just an amazing experience, really. I just hope we can carry on with it.
There's quite a lot of comments about what Lisa mentioned about pizza.
Lisa's pizza.
Lisa says our pizza's been rushed microwave pizza. Nick says Cardigan Town microwave pizza. Eon says we are a frozen pizza. He says Aldi pizza. Derek says stale pizza.
There's one about no toppings as well, wasn't there?
I think there's quite a lot. Yeah, so people, I don't know why I list the pizza, but what's everyone's favorite pizza? Put in the comments. As well. Christian says, I saw Dave Ricardo's Sky Sports today. Nice to recognize the face from the North Carolina. Don't stop believing. Bloody hell. Dave.
Don't stop believing. Yeah. Not one of my favourites.
We've got Foxes talking about pizza. We've got Dave singing a song. What's Glenn going to do? People in the comments, what do you want Glenn to do?
Come on, Glenn, do us your party trick.
Okay. There's 164 people. You can't do the like.
He's an escapologist.
Glenn, let's talk about that Man U midfield. It's just they're second to none, aren't they? Because just watching them, and I'm not a fan of two centre midfielders. I'm not a fan at all with it. So I think that's the bit where Cooper got wrong for me, my opinion. But talk about the Man U midfield to our midfield.
There was a lot in the build-up that you probably didn't see. And obviously Sky made a big deal about the number of, not us, the number of injured players that Man U had. Sabitzer then goes off during the warm-up and Eriksen comes on. Did you notice that? He wasn't in the starting lineup.
Yeah. Only the first 10 minutes are in the next.
Yeah. And the fact that they've got, like you said, Dave, this world-class, incredible role model of a player in Eriksen that can just come on and change a game. Fernandes, there was a big talking point in the studio before about whether he's the player that they bought and what they rate. It's just a phenomenal player who's just, and the fact that we gave Eriksen and Fernandes so much space, no doubt we'll talk about that. The fact that they just had, it was almost like, and we always said, my old man and I talk about this a lot, oppositions that play against us almost look like they've got 12 players on the pitch, that they've got an extra player somewhere and it just looked like we were playing 9 against 12. That midfield, they were just cutting us apart. It was absolutely phenomenal. That interplay that they were playing through, just as a massive Forest fan, as you know, but if I was sitting and watching that game as a neutral, I'd just be, this is incredible the way they're playing. And the fact they got no end product, Martial was quiet, and the fact that it didn't actually put the ball much beyond those chances that they had, it was just almost, because they were overloading with the wing backs as well, unplayable. Now, I don't think we, and I think you're right, Dore, set our stall out at all to prevent them from playing the ball through from the defending rest defense, they call it, through that transition. We just didn't compete, and it just, as you said, Dave, quite right, just put a massive amount of McKenna, who played, I thought played really well despite coming back in, very, very short, and he really had didn't play at all at Villadilly. I thought he played really well. Felipe, obviously phenomenal. I heard that Worrell was ill, but was due to start, and would have, equally have had the same amount of work to do in the back 5 or 6. I'll come back to the point. Going back to what you said, Dave, about what we were saying when we were walking out of Wembley. These sorts of games against Manchester United, regardless of whether they've got, Rashford fit or whatever, are the games that we as Forest fans were looking forward to back in May. We then turn up on this day. Foxy, you're absolutely right. There was no better time to play Man United, but the strength and depth that they've got, particularly through that midfield, the creativity that they have, and the space they've created by overloading is just such a. How do we tactically? And I know there's lots of negative comments about Cooper and the way we set up. How do we tactically play against that? We either overload in the midfield and be exposed at the back. We sit players deeper than Morgan was even playing, and he was playing a little bit deeper than he would normally play, to the point where he was not as effective. There were players running off him, and he had that first or second touch occasionally that just wasn't working through at all, particularly in the second half. How do we play against the midfield like that and compete elsewhere on the field? It's just such a difficult situation that our players need that little bit more time to, as professional Premier League players, to work through. And it was such a massive, even with the injuries, such a massive uphill struggle. The midfield from Manchester United, the midfield from any of the top 8, 9, including Brighton, who will no doubt play, we will play in a couple of weeks, just set out this such a difficult challenge for any team in the world. And we did our best to try and work through them. And as I said, my first point, we kept it down to 2. That wasn't great. We have incidents, we have situations, don't we? These sorts of knife-edge decisions. Taiwo scores. Wan-Bissaka doesn't clear off the line, and it's a different game. Taiwo scores from that cross across the back 4, rather than skying it over the bar, different game. Good point, Dane. The handball that's given as a penalty, different situation. You know, the Navas doesn't flick it onto the crossbar and it drops like Sterling and someone scores, different situation again. I think the challenge that we've got for the next 7 games will involve that midfield. Yates is massive back there.
Yeah.
And I hope dearly that we have someone who can lead and drag those midfielders through, because right now they're being pulled apart. And I don't see any team, particularly Liverpool, spending any great length of time on their analysis in the next couple of days. All the players would have watched it. They'll know exactly how to play through our midfield. It's got to be better, or else we're gonna leak goals like a sieve.
Before we do it, I think Lisa, you upset someone, Arsenal fan. Shout out to Curtis Shaw. No way we should let this bastard Man City win the league ahead of Arsenal. Laugh out loud. I wanted you not to stay up as well. Curtis, it wasn't me. It was this one boxer. So I'm not involved.
I also will say Arsenal have played some of the best football
that
we've seen
agreed.
in a long time from an Arsenal side. So if Arsenal do win the league, I wish you luck. I do wish you luck, because ultimately, you know, it's going to be it's a fantastic fight to the finish, and whichever team actually finishes top of the league, they will deserve it.
100%.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
true.
So, like I said, I'm not involved with what Lisa says. It's Lisa's views, people, not
What's
my
your favourite
views. Dave, your favorite defender, Felipe. Again, the best player on the pitch. We're lucky to have him.
I've got to be giving myself a ponytail because I love that guy. I was walking around with my ponytail. He is. I tell you what, you know, he's just.
Lucky to have him.
Yeah, from the moment he came on at Fulham, when Scotty and Willie were both shot by Lee Harvey Oswald at Craven Cottage, right, in the same minute. Felipe, he came on that day, and it was almost like he said to Mitrovic, right, I'm here now. I've been waiting for you. And he's been in a side that's been struggling. I think he's been absolutely fantastic. He's great in the tackle. He's clean in the tackle. I think he's the best tackler Forest have had for a long, long time, because so often our tackling is so poor. We're a bit of a foul factory for the opposition because we're not great in the tackle. But this guy's as solid as a rock. He's good in the air. He reads the game well. He never gets flustered or you know, he's the one guy for us, I think, who has time to play in this league. And going back to the point that Glenn, the excellent points Glenn made about our midfield, you know, we have less time to play than any team in this league. Our ball retention is truly abysmal. We never get, if Southampton get it, they give it to James Ward-Prowse and he can keep it for a bit. If Leicester get it, they give it to James Maddison or Keenan Dewsbury-Hall, and they keep it for a bit. Everton give it to Alex Iwobi. Leeds give it to Jack Harrison. If you give it to a Forest player, I don't think there's one player in our team who you can in any way describe as a playmaker. I mean, we're talking about Ryan coming back right now. Ryan's going to come back and Ryan's going to be physical. He's like a flipping octopus with arms and legs everywhere, Ryan. He fills it with his personality and his body, right? Like he did that night at Brighton when he basically with the black eye and that got us a point at Brighton, which we didn't deserve by any stretch of the imagination, right? But we haven't got anybody in our squad, and this maybe comes back to the recruitment, some of which got, after a decent initial strategy, kind of went off in different directions, right? We haven't got a talismanic player in our midfield who can slow the ball down and say, right, we're Nottingham Forest and we're going to play at either my tempo or our tempo. We always have. We're playing against 19 teams. Bournemouth have got Philip Billing who can do that for them, or Joe Rothwell, right? That's why Declan Rice does it for West Ham. Neves does it for Wolves. That's why they're, Elise and Eze. We haven't got players. Really, all of these other teams around us have got somebody who can put their foot on the ball and say, right, we're going to play how I want to play today. We haven't got that. You'd like to think it was Remo, but it isn't. You'd like to think it was John Joe, but it isn't. You'd like to think it'd be Scarpa, but the lad for whatever reason, hasn't got in the side and had his impact yet. You've got Danilo. I like Danilo. You know, he's a kid off a favela. He knows how tough life is. He's battling his heart out, but he's raw and he isn't quite good enough yet. And we are dreadful at keeping the ball. And we don't, you know, a Forest guy has it and it's like, oh my God, everybody's on me. Eriksen gets it, or Casemiro, or Fernandez, or whoever else we play. And it seems like they've got a 10-acre field to play in, and half an hour they can have a cup of tea, read a paper, scratch the backside, have a shower, and come back. They still got the ball. Have a pizza, but don't put the pineapple on it, right? Let's just get that straight. Yes. But back to Felipe. This is where Felipe kind of stands out for me, because that guy is the only player I would say in our squad who looks not ready, but you know, Prem standard. He makes time. He reads the game. I think he's fantastic. I've never really liked guys with ponytails before, a little personal phobia. But I put all of that aside for Felipe. I think he's the recruitment team's best piece of work. I wish we'd had him in August. Do you know what I mean? I think he's been really, really good. You know, I mean, it's not all failures. There's been some good ones come in, you know, but I just think the guy's brilliant. You the people I sit with in the Trenton, whenever he gets the ball or he's near the ball or he's in the action, there's a sense of calm goes over him, like that. This guy knows it. I mean, and the bottom line is, if you're good enough to get in Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid defence, you can defend, because that is an academy of defensive football, that. And that guy, if whatever happens to us, we stay up, we go down, keep Felipe, that'd be brilliant for our club. I'm not sure it'll happen. I think if we do go down,
somebody's going to take him. I saw in the comments he's on an 18-month contract.
Well, if we keep him, if we were to get, if we've got him, say we go down, right, and that's a distinct possibility. If we go down and we've got him, he is a cornerstone you can build something fresh on. I think he's that good, honestly, because you have to look for people who you think are playing well, even in a struggling side, and he just sticks out. I mean, I thought he was excellent against Wolves. He battled his heart out at Leeds. He was decent against Villa, you know. And today again, in a side that's struggling, you know, you look around. Who do I feel is giving me everything? And he's the guy. I think he's brilliant. Really, really rate him.
I think there's another comment. I think everyone's seen Dave on Sky.
What I got, Dino, what I got was everybody was. Oh, actually, yeah. Everybody was going.
Everyone saw Dave on TV. People comment. Did you see Dave?
Yeah, but everybody. Somebody said they saw George Clooney, not me. And then there was somebody else said. I looked. My mate sent me a thing saying, "Oh look, Mark Commode, the film critics at the City Ground this afternoon," which I thought was brilliant. You know what I mean? So handsome is as handsome does.
There's 172 people watching. Thank you, everyone that took the time to watch this for Talk About Forest. If you can do a massive favour for me, please do hit the like button if you can. Right, I don't think I mentioned this to Lisa. I said I'm staying clear from Twitter today. Steve Cooper. What people in the comments get involved as well. What's your opinion on Steve Cooper?
My opinion,
just on the fact people want him to go, people want him to stay. What's your opinion on anything?
It's a really tough one, because this is the league that you have. There's just no time to make mistakes, and you get found out very quickly. Yeah. But if we are planning for the future, and our future is in the Championship, he is going to be the best man to get us back out of that. Yeah. You know, every season he has been in the Championship as a manager, he has either been in the playoffs or he's got promoted. And I think, hand on heart, will he see out the season with us? I really don't know. Will he be pushed? I really don't know. Wherever he goes next, whether it be during this season, whether it be in the summer, whether we actually do retain him, and in the future he is somewhere else. He is a fantastic coach. He is very, very positive, always dignified.
Absolutely.
Possibly needs to be a little bit more passionate. And when I say that, that is not being disrespectful as to how he is, because I know 100% he loves our club. By that, I mean that arses need to be kicked, and he needs to be kicking them. We don't see what goes on in the dressing room. We don't see what goes on the training ground. And he comes out and speaks to the media, and he is always very, very diplomatic. And sometimes I think certain elements and certain members of our fan base need to realise that he's a human being who is doing a job, and he got it the moment he walked into our club. He got what the history of Nottingham Forest means. And regardless of, that people will say the past is the past, he has given us the best 18 months that we've had in 20 years. We got promoted with, when we got relegated with Cloughy, and this is what I keep alluding to. When Cloughy retired and they knocked down the Trent End and we got relegated, it feels the same. It feels like there's an inevitability about what's going to happen. And it's horrible. I don't want to feel like I'm feeling, because it does feel like it's an inevitability. But we have to hold on to the fact that we have had the Wembley moments, the Sheffield United moments, last season, the togetherness. We've had a season in the Premiership that we weren't ready for. And whatever happens next will be. We have to then trust that the powers that be do the right thing for our club and for our team, and for, we'll be behind them. But they need to realise that there are possibly people that could be put in place that will not take the club where they think it should be.
True.
Glenn, do you have the same opinion with Lisa, or you have a different one?
I do. I take a lot from what he says to the media, because that's all we really hear. We're not fortunate enough to be behind the scenes and see and hear what goes on. We're not fortunate enough to live in that row of houses on the edge of West Bridgeford overlooking the training ground. No doubt they put those big banners up which stops you from watching, and see what they do from day to day. So you've got to trust what he sees over the course of a week in the build up to a game. There's lots of comments. See them all tonight. This player should play. That player should play. This player may well be injured. This player may well not be the best way to play against that team. We don't have that luxury of seeing that. So all we see is what they put out the hour before, what we see in the 90 minutes while they're playing. What we see is what they say afterwards. And Cooper today was saying that he doesn't give those players that play badly a hard time. He takes it all on himself. And I think as a manager, I think that's a difficult mindset to have in terms of leading people, because he wants to try and instill some belief and some increasing confidence and self-esteem in these young men, whether they've been experienced and around the block, whether they've, like you said, they've played in different leagues around the world, or they've just come into the Premier League for the first time 8 months ago. So that how much he's actually pointing fingers, how much he's actually kicking butts, like you said, Foxy, I don't really know, and perhaps he could and should be doing it more to those players. But equally, what he wants to do is to put them out on the field, to have the confidence and the competence to be able to perform in their best on that day. And it's a difficult balancing act, isn't it? That you're trying to instill that little bit of confidence and develop those young men in those positions to play a particular system. And the system today, I think, worked, as much as I criticised our midfield and the way that what they had on their plate against them. Situation is, if Danilo doesn't play that ball back across, then it's a different situation. If Mangala tracks, who scored? Dallo. Then it's a different situation. And those are the two occasions when the plan didn't work. Now, that doesn't mean to say that well, I don't know how many shots on goal they had, how many touches they had in our box, all that. Those are the fine margins. I think Cooper as a man is the best person to build these players for the rest of the 7 games. What happens after that, I happen to agree with you, is the best person to bring us back up. I don't think our board are going to have the patience for that, sadly. I hope that they give him till the end of the year. That may well not be the case either. There's a lot of criticism, and I haven't spoke too much about this. I'm a Cooper in. There's a lot of criticism.
I've done a poll. I've done a poll. People,
I don't
Cooper in or out.
I don't know if the people that are saying Cooper out know who they would have instead. I know it's not Alan Tate. Who is it instead? Because right now it's too late to make any impact with someone else.
True.
Glenn, let me put something, Glenn.
And we've got to put our faith in them, I think.
Glenn, I said I've done a poll, and it says the 58% says yes, and 41% says no. So people in the comments, if you're the people saying out, who would you want to replace Steve Cooper right now? Right now. If you're in, then that's what you report. People in the comments, if you're out, who would you want to replace? And I'll look for him. Dave, do you echo what Foxy and Glenn says, or are you different to it?
Well, I think it's too late to make a change now this season. Absolutely. Personally, I think if we go down, keep him for the reasons Foxy said, because I think wherever he goes after Forest, he's going to be a success, I think. And I think, why should we jettison the best one we've had for 23 years? Right. We were a joke club, changing our manager like more often than I change my underpants, which is once a day, right? We got to the point where we were a laughing stock, where a lot of managers would look at Nottingham Forest's administration and say, why would I want to go there and commit professional suicide? People like Nigel Clubb, no, I'm not going to Forest. It's the end of my career. Paul Heckingbottom would never come to us when he was doing really well at Barnsley. So, I mean, it just seems to me that what I can't be doing, and I don't want to do. I don't want to scapegoat anybody. I don't want to blame anybody. And I empathise with Steve Cooper, because I coached a team for 17 years, keeping 16 alpha males full of adrenaline and testosterone happy, or whatever, is incredibly difficult. And you can talk in a dressing room until you're blue in the face. But that white line around the pitch, which you see is about, 3 or 4 inches, it might as well be a million miles, because you can say what you like till you're blue in the face. They go onto the field, and that 11, then you give them. I often used to say to our lads when I was running a team, I'm going to give you an instruction, and I'll bet you by half time you've forgotten it. And not one of them could ever recite it, because what they do, they go on the field, the immediacy of the tackle, the header, the shot, means that it's all done on instinct. What you have to try and do in the training that they do, and I have total faith that Forest are training really hard and are coming at it with the right will in the world. You have to try and put it into them to be an instinct. It's almost like people like, I do think some of them like, where's my 4-0 win? I've paid my money. I want a 4-0 win. I want success every week. Get real. Walk a mile in another man's shoes before you start blaming him. The guy's doing the best in his job, right? It's almost like he's having a bad time. Now's the time to turn on him. My view is he's having a bad time. He needs my love and support more than ever. My team, somebody said to me, right, what would you do if Forest go down? I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll love them even more. You ain't making me go anywhere. I almost feel like you have to ask this question with some of these people. What will you do if Nottingham Forest go down? Will you go down to the City Ground and look to punish somebody? Will you take revenge, retribution? What are you going to do? Are you going to stop going to the matches to prove that you only support them when it's going really, really well? What are you going to do? For me, if Forest go down, I'll look to the first game of next season, all the friendlies, and I just keep going. And because this phrase, Forest till I die, has to mean something. You know what I mean? So these are the ups and downs of life. My view is with Steve, if we, I think he's fantastic. I think he got our club. If anybody ever saw his initial interview before he got the job, I kind of thought, we're going to go somewhere with this guy. He researched Nottingham Forest. He learnt about it. He learnt about the city of Nottingham. He learnt about what the people are like in this great city. He learnt about what the people are like when they sit in the City Ground. Remember when he came out for the Millwall game, and it was a 1-1 draw. We weren't great. We got a fluky goal off Maxi Lowe, and yet Steve was like, God, this means something. And we'd gone on that journey. And it's almost like, we've at the first bump in the road, right, get rid of him. And then what do we do? Do we go back to like changing them every 5 minutes? And then, what Steve Cooper has done actually is made Nottingham Forest for players and another manager. If Steve is eventually to go, nobody stays with the club forever. He's made Nottingham Forest an attractive prospect in a job market and a competitive job market. Now, at the point when Chris Hughton was in, right, Nottingham Forest was unattractive to players because people thought, I don't want to go and play there because it's dull football, going nowhere, and it was like you kind of thought, that's a thankless task at Nottingham Forest. Actually, for us to even get Steve Cooper in the first place was a coup. I thought at the time, now he's just done fantastic things at Swansea. He's won a World Cup with the England under-17s. His CV is really strong. Is he taking a nosedive by coming to Nottingham Forest? And I kind of worried. I had no need to worry. I was completely wrong, as I usually am about things. And Steve took us up. My view is we stick with him now. It's too late to make a change with 7 games to go. I mean, I don't think Dean Smith's going to make much of an impact at Leicester. Sean Dyche's supposed bounce has dropped off. Ruben Sellers at Southampton, I think, is a really, really good guy, but he's like running through treacle. You know what I mean? Javi Gracia. Oh, we're all staying upwards. We've just beaten Forest 2-1. Oh, Roy Hodgson, anybody? So, it's really, what I cannot abide is this. Things are going wrong. We need to point the finger and make one human being responsible for all of it and need to make his life hell. No, I wouldn't want it done to me. Do unto others, do unto me as I do unto others. So my view is that we have the best man in place, and the ownership. I actually have a little less faith in the ownership than I do in Steve Cooper. But a couple of times this year, the bolt has been pointed at Steve Cooper's head. Leicester, right? Leeds. At Leeds, he walked off and he put his hand up like that as he walked down the tunnel. I thought, that's Steve saying "ta-ra." And if that's,
he did last weekend as well, David Villa.
Yeah, at Villa. They've had the bolt pointed at Steve's head, and the Marinakis family have said, no, we're not going to do it, because the fans, they certainly spoke at Leicester. The 3,300 at Leicester saved his job, right? And I think the reception he got at Leeds was fantastic, right? So, and I have not yet, forgive me for going on, because I feel quite strongly about this. I have not heard yet. I've not seen a Cooper out banner in the City Ground. If you want him out, come down and put a banner in the City Ground.
That's a fantastic point. People in the comments, like I said, I've seen
Moyes out. They were winning at Fulham. West Ham were winning at Fulham, and all over the Putney end. Moyes out. We were losing at Aston Villa, and everybody was still Stevie Cooper. If you want Cooper out, come to the City Ground and stick your banner up across the Trent end, and then make your point. You're entitled to think that. I'm a Cooper in, but if you're a Cooper out, that's fine. Feel that. Yeah. The beauty of life is the diversity of opinions. But I've not yet heard. In the Premier League, we've played 31 games. I've not been in the City Ground. I've not heard any Cooper out or seen a banner. And in all the away games we've gone, not one of the travelling contingent has bought a banner and unfurled it and said, Steve Cooper's got to go. So are the Cooper outs, are they kind of like an underground sect or what? Do you know what I mean? But as it stands at the moment, the way I look at it is we go with Steve to the end of the season. We start the championship. If that's where we are, if we stay up, Steve's bomb-proof for a while. If we go down, we stick with Steve. And then if we're in the championship and come like the end of October or an international break in November, and we're in the bottom half of the championship and we are not fulfilling the level that we should be at, then his position is to be looked at. That's where I am.
So I put the poll. 86 people voted. There was
gone a bit of rant there. Sorry.
Just a tad, Steve. Just a tad. Dave. 62 says in. 37 says no. Before we do go,
is there another 1% somewhere, Ben?
Huh?
Is there another 1% there?
I was just thinking that, Lise.
No. On the panel it says 52 says yes.
Well, that makes 99. Where's the other one?
I don't know where the one's gone. I don't know.
Abstainers, Lise.
Well, if you look at it, that's what it says. It says on my computer. Maybe my laptop's not working. I don't know what it is, people. I think I've got to upgrade it. But if you can, people donate, I can now get a better laptop. Lisa, we've got Liverpool next week. Oh God. I'm praying to God. We can't win. I don't care. We just draw. We put a bus. We play a bus. I don't want to live. I don't want to lose Liverpool away. Lisa, are you worried? Are you worried about Liverpool away?
Of course, I'm worried. But then you also never know which Liverpool team's going to turn up.
Exactly.
And we didn't expect to get anything out of the game at home, and we did. So our luck has got to change sometime, and it needs to change pretty bloody quickly. Can we get something out of the game? Maybe. Are we more likely not to get anything out of the game? Probably. So it's just it's one for me now that probably is damage limitation. Can we keep their goals down to 1 or 2 and let Liverpool go and play Leeds tomorrow and concede 7? That's I've said exactly the same about the West Hams of the world and the Leicesters of the world. Just let them mess their own goal difference up and let us just concentrate on keeping ours as compact as it can be now. And who knows what might happen come the end of May.
Glenn, your last statement.
I said this when you and I were on a few weeks ago when we did the 5-game. Do you remember? Yeah, and I said that Liverpool with Kev Campbell. And I said the Liverpool at that point were the most inconsistent, one of the most inconsistent teams in that top 8, 9. On their day, they can lose to anybody and they can win it. They can, like you said, cricket score against anybody else. I just hope I'm there on Saturday. I can't wait. First time at Anfield.
I cannot wait.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not going to go into the game. I was really nervous this afternoon. I don't know why. Really, actually, I thought it was going to be a really difficult game. I'm going into Saturday weirdly really optimistic, despite a 550-mile round trip for the day, and I'm bringing Bez back to London to run the London Marathon the following morning. I'm getting up at 6 a.m. to volunteer. I'm really looking forward to the game. Apart from the fact it's Anfield, but because of the inconsistency, and who knows on the day what we might just do.
Last but not least, Dave, how are you feeling about the game?
I think daunting is the word that springs to mind, really. But as a lover of the game of football, which, when all's said and done, our love of the game of football comes above our individual club, really. As a football experience, to go to Anfield and watch your own team. I mean, the thing is, a year ago, it was like, no disrespect to some smashing little clubs, it was Barnsley and Luton Town and Bristol City. And those times, like, if somebody said, that night at Bristol City, the night of the incredible, finale, if somebody said, right, Dave, we'll give you a trip to Anfield next year to watch Nottingham Forest, I'd have absolutely chewed every limb on their body, let alone the one hand that was offered. So I think going to Anfield is going to be fantastic. So off the field, for us as supporters to see it and to experience it, it's going to be amazing. Obviously, it might be quite poignant as well, because I don't know if they do the Hillsborough Memorial last week, was it? And so obviously it's Liverpool, Nottingham Forest in April. So from a historical perspective, it will have meaning and resonance for a lot of people, people who were at that, awful event all those years ago, you know what I mean? So there's that. On the field, can't see us winning. I'm sorry.
Dave,
I just look
at some little.
And I'll tell you for why. I tell you, if I come on here and and there's been a lot of this, we're Nottingham Forest, we had a great history. That doesn't really mean a lot when we got our lads going to the field of play next week at Anfield. Yeah. We've got to deal with Mo Salah. We've got to deal with Diego Jota. We've got to deal with, they've still got. I know they're having a bit of an identity crisis at the moment, and people say, "Well, we can get at Trent and do this, that, and the other." They're higher up the table than we are, and that table is the ruthless determinant of the level of teams. I mean, if we were to pull off a win there, I mean, dear life, I think my head might just expand and explode and never come back together again. But hard-hearted, if I was a neutral and a betting man, that's a home banker, that. But I'm not a neutral. I'm a Nottingham Forest supporter and a lover of Nottingham Forest, a deep lover of Nottingham Forest, and all the people who play for it, and all the people who coach at it, and all the people who come and watch it and give it their time. And I desperately would love us to win. And I'll be rooting for every one of our lads from minute 1 to minute 94. Do I see it happening? It's unlikely. But you know what? Unlikely things happen in life. And I know there's 7 games to go and it's a diminishing period of time. But there's still a bit of me thinks that somewhere out the blue, and I might be deluded and I might be, and in hindsight will probably judge me poorly. Posterity will have me torn to shreds. I just think there's a result in Forest somewhere along the line that none of us can see coming. None of us. I mean, who the other week would have seen after that loss at, and I'll give Bournemouth as an example, they lose at Arsenal horrendously in the last minute. How painful. The next week, they go and beat Liverpool, Bournemouth, right? So the way I look at it is, well, if Bournemouth can do it, why can't we do such a thing? I'm sure the people at Leicester City, Southampton, Everton and Leeds, and it is a 5-team, it's 3 from 5 now. Bournemouth are safe, Palace are safe, Wolves are safe, West Ham are safe, right? I think those 4 can all rest easier and it's down to 5. They'll all be thinking, well, surely we've got to pull one out of the bag somewhere. You know what I mean? I just don't think unfortunately, I don't think we've got enough cutting edge. I certainly don't think we keep the ball as well as anybody in this league. That is my big issue. That is the one issue for me that needs to be rectified, because like Glenn said, it's often like they've got 20 on the field and we've got 5. It looks like we've been reduced to 10 even before we started, and like Foxy says, we're just not technically, certainly we don't boss a midfield. That's been the Achilles heel all season. In fact, funnily enough, the only time I think we bossed a midfield, and it was through brute force rather than finesse, was when we beat Liverpool at home. And Yatesy, Cheku Kouyaté and Freuler bossed their midfield off the park. And Liverpool didn't know how to handle it. I just think what we can't do at Anfield is what Arsenal did last week. And there's a lovely phrase where a guy in a report wrote that Arsenal poked the bear, the Granit Xhaka incident, and it got the Liverpool massive into the game. What Forest have got to do is try and keep them out of it, keep them quiet, but it's going to be a monumental task. And our lads are facing a real difficult game there, but they'll have my love with them, because I think our lads are fantastic. I really do, and we have to love them. If your family's having a bad time, that's when the love comes out. Not when they're having a bad time. What, you'll turn on your family members? Forest is my family, so I'm not turning on them when they're having a bad time. So keeping the faith.
Keep the faith. Before we do it, there's one comment. I think it's from Dino. How are you doing, Dino? Just the panel think the Greek Falcon will pull the trigger this week after the statement 2 games ago. Can we make it quick, Lisa? Front to that one.
It honestly depends for me if they think that they've got somebody else lined up that can do a better job than Cooper at this point. We've seen from Olympiacos being on their 4th manager of the season that they are trigger happy to some degree. But if they know Nottingham Forest history, they also know that being trigger happy with us doesn't necessarily work.
True.
So it is, again, it's that stick or twist, Spurs or Stoke.
That's poetry. That's brilliant. She's magic. From Peter to Stoke.
Right, this is the last time Mr. Fox will be on his channel, so people in the comments say cheers, Lisa, because everyone knows how I feel about Stoke City. Everyone knows how I feel. So please, Forest, do get us relegated, because I'm not going to that game ever again. Thanks, Lisa. Everyone, thank you, everyone. Foxy, Dave, and the man himself, Glenn. Thank you. I appreciate for everyone that has come on the channel today. People in the comments, if you're really watching this in the comment section, how do you feel about Forest's form? Are we staying up? Do you want Cooper gone? What do you think? Put in the comment section. I want to beat Liverpool. I'm being optimistic. I don't care what anyone says. I'm being optimistic. I want to beat Liverpool. I don't care. I'm getting up a JD bottle to get that ready so I can get drunk for next Saturday. I don't care.
Are Forest providing the linesman for Andy Robertson this week?
He's still in hospital. He's still in hospital. But yeah, it's been a thank you, for everyone that's took part. Thank you for the 168 people that took as well. Much appreciate. Good conversation as well. Jamie will be back Tuesday, people, to talk about his thoughts about the game. I'll be back Friday to talk with a Liverpool fan. Talk about that game. I want to win. I don't care what anyone says. You call me deluded, whatever. I don't care. I want to win that game. And Dave's been, and as well, people, I don't know if you know, Dave's been on TV. He's been on TV. I saw the comments. Dave's been on TV.
Yeah, Crime Watch, side on with the number underneath. Have you seen this man? Most Britain's least wanted.
Right, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, back to you, Dave and Glenn. Thank you for taking the part as well. Before you do go, please do hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you next Friday. Peace and love. Up the Forest.